Like most of you, I didn't know what I was doing. I was the guy in university with a camera taking literally every single job that came my way. In the early days, I was doing weddings, restaurants, hotels, jewelry, self-defense classes, nightlife, and further down the line, maybe even your favorite creator. I kept shooting, I kept learning, and slowly something started to happen. People started paying me, people started recommending me, and then one day I looked up and realized this isn't just a hobby anymore, this is a business. But here's something that nobody ever told me. There's a big difference between being a good videographer and a good business owner. And actually, for quite a long time, I was actually only focusing on one of those things. So in this video, I'm going to be saving you some of that pain, start of your videography journey or photography journey if you're a photographer as well. You can also take some of these tips along the way in your journey and apply them now, later, or probably further down the line. And this is for people who are beginner videographers or photographers that want to turn their passion into something that you can make a living out of. Coming from someone that started in university in second year architecture with no idea what I was doing, filming with an iPhone 13 mini. So I didn't even have a camera when I first started. I got my clients from there, and that's where it started. Now, at the very beginning, everything I'm about to say is going to be completely useless if we don't address the real reason why people don't start their journey in the first place. And that is mindset. Taking a page out of Seneca's Moral Letters, there's nothing so certain in our fears that's not yet more certain in the fact that most of what we dread comes to nothing. And the same wisdom has been said by the third US president, Thomas Jefferson, where he joked in a letter to John Adams, "How much pain have cost us evils which have never happened." Essentially, what this all boils down to is just a mindset that most beginners have that prevent them from taking the first step. Which leads us to the question I get asked the most, which is, how do I know if I'm good enough, or when do I know I can start? Now, here's a thought experiment that I want to share with you guys. Pick any great entrepreneur or athlete at their peak. Now, just do a rewind to year one. If someone was to ask them in year one, are you good enough? The honest answer might have been no. My first client with a camera was a master jeweler. I had no idea how to shoot macro or even with metals or gemstones, how to get light through them, let alone getting a decent shot of the jewelry. Did that stop me? No. As time went on, I went on to learn more advanced techniques, softwares to get things done properly. Then I got into a certain point where the client loved what I was doing and believed in it. I say camera a lot, first client with a camera, but we're gonna get to that in just a second. The next part of this section is something that I get quite often. Well, not even just in the videography space, but people just want to start a business in general. Something always along the lines of, well, if people say something about me or family members or like friends from high school, if they're going to say something. And you know, the answer I give basically all the time, no matter who's asking me this question, take two ends of an extreme spectrum. One side being flat broke and the other side being incredibly wealthy. On either side of the spectrum, people are going to talk about you. If you were in the middle of any of those two extremes, people are still going to talk about you. It's just part of the game of life and business. It gets easier over time, and quite frankly, it's just something that we just have to get used to. And if it just helps you, just this little fact, people don't actually care. You know, they're going to say something now, but give it a few days or maybe just 2 days and people would have forgotten about you already. I know that sounds quite harsh, but that's just the reality. People don't care as much as you think, and people will never care as much as you do. In my case, when I first started my business in university, a lot of my classmates and teachers just didn't understand what I was doing. And quite rightly so, because I was missing lectures, I was missing seminars. I wasn't exactly being the top tier student I was. Secondary school in the UK, I was basically a straight A student all around the board. And when I hit uni, it just didn't hit the same. Mainly because I was focusing so much on my business and people don't understand that. They were thinking, you know, maybe he's just struggling in uni. But no, all this time I was building a life for myself that I wanted to live, that wasn't predetermined by someone else. So if you got to this point, great. Now you're not gonna let self-doubt stop you from starting. Let's just get into it. The stuff that will actually get you paid. One of the big questions I always get is gear. Does gear matter? Or if it does, what type of gear? First of all, before I get into any of this, you need to determine what type of service you're providing. Are you providing long-form talking heads or brand films or short-form social media or LinkedIn content, or are you a video editor? So stuff like this does matter later on. In the beginning, however, it doesn't matter at all. You're just at the beginning of the journey. I wouldn't suggest any of you investing into gear that much in the beginning, because you need to have proof of concept. What proof of concept is finding out if there is a market that will actually pay for your services. There's no point spending hundreds of pounds or thousands of pounds into gear, cameras, lenses, everything, when you can't find a client, or there is no clients out there that are looking for the service you're providing. Find proof of concept first. For example, remember when I said my first client with a camera? Well, my first client ever was actually with my iPhone 13 mini, and that client ended up paying me a couple £100 a month to do work with them. That isn't a huge amount, but I was just beginning. I was just hustling. I was just ready to get on there. And that's the mentality that you should have as well. Now, I'm not saying that you need to, charge that much, but what I'm saying is that you need to get yourself out there to get your first client, which I'll go into in a second. Truly, the only things that the client cares about is if they believe in what you're doing and they trust that you can provide the service, and also does your service either save them time or makes them money. If it doesn't hit at least 2 or 3 of any of those points, the client will never hire you, regardless of any gear you have or any other things that you might add into the mix. If you want to know more about gear for beginners like yourself who are just getting started, I will make a separate video on that. I just won't cover it in this video. Should I work for free to build a portfolio? Yes, and just yes. Now, what I'm going to say is, don't look at it as free work. Look at it as an opportunity. Look at this. It's a mutually beneficial exchange between you and the client. The client gets a service or a piece of work that's for free, and for you, you're going to have that as spec work. Now, back to the client that we were talking about. You did that for free, so it kind of just removes that tension of them having to pay you and expect a lot. If they like the service that you provided, they are going to hire you. They're either going to hire you for ongoing work, or maybe just a one-off, or a retainer, but the fact is, you're getting hired. You're in business. Now, here's the beautiful thing. If they enjoyed working with you that much, they might refer you to one of their business friends. And that is probably one of the easiest calls or easiest sales pitches that you ever have. The rapport is already there. The trust is somewhat already there, because if they're good friends with the person that's recommending you, then they're saying, oh, well, I trust my friend. So if he trusts him, then, I'll give him a shot. You're not going to 100% close the client in that way, but you're going to have a damn well more advantage than if you were to approach them in a cold email or a cold DM. The second part to that, let's say if it didn't work out with that client, they enjoy the work, but they just don't have anything else or any other projects going on that will justify hiring you. You can still use that free piece of work that you can leverage with another prospect. Let's say if you get into a call with another prospect and they just need a little nudge to push over, so then they can say, yes, I'll hire you. You can just say, that's absolutely fine. There's someone that I worked with recently in a similar industry or a similar service that I provided for them. Here you go. And if you show them that piece of work, it is leverage for you. They're going to see your capabilities. It's better than showing up with nothing. One of the big things about this industry is under promise and over deliver. I know it sounds so cliche to say that, but really it is. Disclaimer, I'm not saying do work all the time for free to build a portfolio. You just need 1 or 2 pieces of work for maybe the niche or the industry, and that's it. Do not get taken advantage of. Make sure you know when to put your foot down, and don't be known as, the guy or the girl that will always do stuff for free. Set your boundaries. Don't do all your work for free. Just do maybe 1 or 2 pieces of work that you can show to other prospects that you want to get, preferred clients or ideal clients, and that's all you're gonna do. Do not do everything for free. Just don't do that. I've seen it time and time again. Now you might be wondering, how do I even get my first client? Good question. There's a few methods that you can use to get your first client. One of the methods that you can use is outreaching. I know, again, cliche. When it comes to outreaching, all you have to do is research your client for 15 minutes or 10 minutes. Have an understanding what their business is, the services they provide, and their core values as a business. So when you do cold pitch or cold DM them, you can show that you have some understanding of their business or a great understanding of their business, and it shows you care. Most people that are outreaching nowadays are just sending blast machine gun fire DMs and cold emails. And it's clear that the client just understands, look, this person doesn't understand my business at all. You need to show that you understand the client's business, and from there, they can feel like, I feel understood. Because one of the big things with clients is they want to feel that they're understood. When they feel like you understand them, they feel that you can actually provide the service that you're saying you can do. The second option to get clients is through networking. I don't know, a lot of people say networking is dead or networking is this or that, but truthfully, networking is one of the most powerful ways to get clients. Reason for that is that you're meeting them in person. There's only a set ceiling of rapport or trust that you can get from a video call, an email chain, or a phone call that you can't get meeting in person. When the client meets you in person, they get to understand who you are as a person, how you present yourself, how are you dressed, your energy, your vibe, are you confident? They get all these things that you can push a higher level of rapport that online could never replicate. You might be thinking, how do I get in front of clients in the first place? The thing is, you do have to do a little bit of research. Depending on the niche you're in, let's say if you want to get into cars, there are actually some car exhibitions or expos or places where people showcase cars or companies showcase their cars. You can very well go in there, maybe ask in advance to bring your camera and just say, hey, it's right if I just take a few pictures for free, exchange emails or exchange phone numbers with people who own the cars or people who might be running the company, and then from there you can work your way forward. If there's other places, maybe Excel. So I'm not sure what the rules are with Excel, but if you have places where loads of businesses have their own individual stalls and they're there, it is prime time to go and get clients. You can go in there and just double check yours okay to film. Go in there, talk to the people that have the stands and just say, could I do a free video for you and edit it, and then I can send it over to you, Just do a quick short form content of them showcasing where they are, what they're doing, they're at the expo, this type of stuff they do. Then they can use that for their marketing. And in exchange for that, you have their emails, their phone numbers, and already a piece of work. And they like it. And all you have to do is just do follow up a few days later, or maybe the next day or next week, and you got a client. And the way I got my first client was I actually walked around with business cards in the city that I was in. So in university, the city that I was in the center, the businesses are quite packed close together. So what I did was, it was like door-to-door sales. I walked around, walked in, even talked to the receptionist or the assistant. Not the best thing to do, but I still did it. I was just pitching my service in person. I was like, hey, do you need someone to do some social media videos, And again, as it is with kind of like door-to-door sales, 99% of people are going to say no. You're just going to have to get used to it. The rejection is always going to be there in business. You just need to find a way to just realize it's just part of the game. But yeah, eventually at the end of that day, all those businesses that said no, the one business that said yes was that master jewelry shop with very expensive necklace at the front that I saw. And I was like, okay, if all these businesses say no, this business might say no as well, so I might as well try. They're the one who said yes. But at the end of the day, you might be an introverted person like me. You just have to be extroverted sometimes. You have to get yourself out there. Because one thing with all these outreach methods or different outreach methods is that they're not always a guarantee, but there is a 100% guarantee that if you sit in your room twiddling your thumbs, hoping that some client will magically find your phone number and book you for a shoot or a video, etc. Yeah, that will never happen. That's something that's guaranteed to happen. If you sit in your room, do nothing, you'll never get a client. Now we're going into the business side of things. And this is something that I wish someone told me when I first started this in university, because nobody told me about contracts and invoices and all this stuff. Let me tell you, it's going to save you a lot of headache. I just wish someone told me, so I'm going to tell you guys. One of the big questions I always get is, how much should I charge as a beginner? The first thing I always say is understand the service you're providing first. Understand it, understand the things that you can add on to it. But at the end of the day, get used to productizing and packaging your services. Please, please, please get into the habit of packaging your services. Because if you're to do things separate, like deliverables, etc., single deliverables are easy to negotiate or compare prices with another competitor. They're easier to undercut, and it always involves creep score, which is when clients say this and then they're like, oh wait, can we add this along, next thing you know, that thing that you priced for initially has all this bunch of stuff that you're just like, wait a minute, I didn't. And now it's going to be almost double the work for the same price. However, when you package your services, it's a lot harder to compare upfront with another competitor. At the end of the day, the client at this point is not looking for just deliverables and things. They're looking for an outcome or an experience. And also packaging your services protects your pricing power and protects your rates. And I know some people can say it's not about the money. And while I agree that it's also not just about money, I also agree with the fact that it does take quite a considerable amount of time and energy to obtain a paying client. However, I am not saying you want to create a massive package just to milk the client dry. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is creating a package that best suits the needs of your client. You want to make sure that it's tailored and directly impacts the client's business. It makes you look like the professional and not the freelancer that is very needy for clients. This is also one of the big reasons why creatives fall into burnout, because when they don't package their services and they add just simple deliverables, things get messy. They forget certain prices they do because each deliverable is going to be different and not easy like a package where you have set prices. And with the creep score that will inevitably come in when you're selling single deliverables, which I'll come to soon in this video, it's just going to be a big headache for you, and it's going to 100% guaranteed lead to burnout. But I'm also going to be the guy to say it at the start, right? The price you're going to be charging for clients doesn't really matter that much. However, what does matter, when you charge that price for that client, now you just have feedback from the market that there is a client out there willing to pay that price that you just gave. Now, what you want to do with clients moving forward is increase that price as you go. As you increase the price, the type of client or the quality of client that you're going to be working with is going to change. The objections you're going to get is either going to be more difficult or completely brand new that you haven't gotten used to. And what objections are is when you're in that sales call, where you're pitching the services, is usually going to be something along the lines of, oh, I need to think about it, it's too expensive, etc. As you increase your price, you're going to get more of these objections, and you just need to find ways to go around these objections and then close the deal. And it's just what it is for business. I'm just going to be the guy to tell you that's just how it is. However, once you get great at handling the objections and you start charging the rates that you always wanted to charge, you're going to get to a certain point where, although it does feel it's still a job that you're doing, it's great because you get to charge these rates, you're happy, you're living the life. Another question I get is, do I need to register as a business straight away? I'm in the UK and there's two options you can go down, which is signing up as a sole trader or as a limited company. Each of them has their own pros and cons. However, sign up to be a sole trader or a limited company, 100% either one of those before you start your journey as a videographer or photographer in business. Another thing that I thought I was going to get more questions on, but it turns out not many people talk about this because they just don't realize how important it is, which is why I want you guys to realize that this is 100% important. Make sure you lock this down. Is contracts and invoices. When it comes to contracts, I can't tell you how many times I would have saved myself awkward situations or just scenarios that I just don't want to be in with clients. Make sure in your contract you're going to have payment terms so you understand that, okay, I'm going to get paid at this time, or I'm going to get 50% up front. And yeah, that's one thing as well I want to mention. Before you do any booking, get at least a deposit down. Yes, and that's something important. Always get a deposit before you do a job. I don't even need to explain it. Just get a deposit before you do any job or before you start any project. Get a deposit. Whether what percentage it is, might be 25%. Personally, for me, I get 50% upfront so I can lock them in, and then 50% when the job is done. In your contract, make sure you have a clear set payment terms. In your contract, also make it clear that you have deliverables clearly listed, clearly explain in detail what it is, so when clients come back to you asking, oh, I thought you were going to provide this, or where is this, I didn't get this, you can go to that contract that they signed and say, here, look at this, okay, yep, this is what you agreed to. If you want to add more, it's going to be an extra charge. The second part to this is invoices. And now when it comes to invoices, it's going to keep your books in check, it's going to keep the client's books in check, but at the end of the day, it's going to just make you look professional and you have your head switched on. I can't tell you how many times when I work with companies, when I first started in university, they would actually call me up, right? And they would literally say, wow, you know how to do an invoice? And I'm like, yeah, isn't that like just a normal thing to do? They're like, no. Some people that we work with, they don't have to do an invoice. It delays payment. It's awkward. Now things are delayed. Payments are done. And it's just a whole mess. And that is one thing that I want to mention as well. What I use for contracts is DocuSign. It's easy to get signatures, it's easy to get things written down, sent over to the client. There's other alternatives like PandaDoc, etc. Find out what suits you best. What suits me best is just DocuSign. And the other thing is invoices. You can use Monzo. Monzo does free invoices or whatnot. I use Stripe, which is free. At least right now it's free, at least for me. It's great. Again, easily sent to the client. Payment link that you can actually customize if you pay for it. All of this is just to say you want to make the whole process while working with a client as frictionless, as smooth, as, I don't know, easy as possible. Because the easier and the frictionless as possible, like the smoother is the client working with you, it's a more enjoyable experience for them. A client that owns a business, they have all these things going on, but if you're the easy person to work with, they're going to enjoy that experience. They're more likely to work with you again or have you on ongoing work or the beautiful retainer every month. They're going to get you on there, or they're going to recommend you. It's just, if you provide a great experience, it's just going to be great for you. Like imagine your favorite subscription service or something that you use a lot. I hear if people in America, when they use Chick-fil-A, they love the customer experience or whatnot. It's the same thing. It keeps people coming back. They enjoy it. It's easy. And that is something you want to do with clients to keep them in the long term and keep them loyal to you. And that's everything I'm going to cover today to kickstart your videography or photography business in 2026. A lot of these pieces of advice will be evergreen and I'm sure we're going to last many years to come. My socials are going to be linked in the description. If you have any other questions, leave them in the comments below. Leave a like, subscribe. If you love videos like this, I'm going to create more, and I will see you in the next one.